Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kanchi Shah, and it gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to Digital Dialogues 2.0, sponsored by Dell Technologies, Microsoft, and Weddington, presented by Strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, today enterprises are rethinking IT priorities in the face of rapidly changing business demands. There's a need and new focus on simplifying complex environments and increasing speed across the entire enterprise technology stack, from data centers and multiple clouds to remote work environments and advanced analytics. Demands for immediate cost savings, operational agility, resilience, and security are driving change. Modernization is a way for IT organizations to reinvent themselves and help the business rapidly scale and shorten time to market. Ultimately, organizations can adapt to market changes faster and pursue new business models when empowered with digital services, agile processes, and reliable business intelligence. IT modernization is imperative, therefore, to digitizing and improving the customer experience, to improve service levels and create market differentiation. Hence, the need for business and technology leaders to consolidate infrastructural assets towards more automated and innovative solutions. And that's what we're going to discuss through today's episode. We appreciate you taking your time off the busy schedules to join us today and would request you to please address your questions to our speakers using the Q&A option on your screens. With that, we'd like to kick off today's session with our first segment titled The CXO Dialogues. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Group CIO, Krishna Group, Mr. Avinash Velhar, CIO, Growing Markets, APAC, India, Middle East, Africa, and South America for Atos International. And our moderator for the session, Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategy Solutions. With that, I'd now like to hand it over to you, Arjun.
Hello and welcome. My name is Arjun Vishwanathan. I'm the Chief Knowledge Officer at Strategy. And today, in the Digital Dialogues 2.0, the second episode, we're going to be talking about a very, very important aspect of the whole concept of transformation, resurgence, and value acceleration. Because as digital information networks linking individuals, organizations, and nations ascend to newer heights, unprecedented heights, opportunities seem to be emerging to exchange ideas and crystallize innovation across physical boundaries. Falling communication costs, globalization, and the increasing specialization of knowledge-based work have made collaboration within and amongst organizations more important than ever. And in all of this, the role of the humble sentinel, the workstation, stands radically redefined today than ever before. And to join me in conversation are going to be two very, very dear friends and very, very eminent leaders from industry. Please put your hands together to welcome Avinash Vilhal, Group CIO for Growing Markets for Atos. Avinash, welcome. We are delighted you could join us.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you. And Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Group CIO for the Krishna Maruti Group. Sanjeev, welcome. We are delighted with you joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure being part of the panel.
Thank you. Sanjeev, if with your permission, I'm directly going to come to you. You've had a front screen view to the disruption that's been caused over the last 2 years. And lots of folks are saying that if 2020 was the year of disruption, 2021 being the year of transition, 2022 is going to be the year of acceleration. In that kind of a scenario, Sanjeev, my question to you is, how does the whole concept of the hybrid workplace today, how do you see that ushering in a new future and therefore making employee experience central to an organization's ability to accelerate to value faster?
Okay. I would just simply say that I think so. Previously, when we were talking before the pandemic has come up into our lives, the life was totally different for a manufacturing organization per se when we talk about the digital journeys or the digital experience of the users when we talk about in a manufacturing setup. But going forward, when the things have really hit us hard, and it was a nightmare for us to really see that how we are able to bring the things back into action, because we were not very clear the day the PM declared that is a lockdown is there, and we were expecting the lockdown might be pulled up in within a maximum period of 1 week or so. So we, all of us, I think, so waited for a week to see that okay, the things will come up back to the normal, and then we will be back into our offices to carry out the work. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I think so, since we are being from an automobile accessory manufacturing organization, where we have a lot of IPRs lying with us, and we have a lot of dates which has to be really met, since our OEM depend upon us to deliver the models of the future, because we have to co-work with them to really see how our material fits into their product to get the real shape of the product. And then if we delay our designs into the whole system, the model delays happen to the market, and then they might even lose a business. So the OEMs waited for a week or so, and after that they were pushing us to meet the deadlines for the complete things to be done. It was a nightmare for us, for the IT teams, to really see how exactly the things would have has to be carried out, because manufacturing organizations really have an IPR which is very critical, very confidential, because the model which is going to be there 4 years now from to be there in the market, that is available with us, and any leakage into that particular thing can really be a catastrophic thing for us. So we generally don't allow the things to move out of the
True,
premises, and we most of the things in premise only.
true.
At that particular moment of time, there was a lot of restrictions that you cannot move out the things. People cannot move out on the road. There was now authorities were given to move things from the premises to individual places or so. I think so. It was a nightmare, and we really worked hard with the authorities to see that we are able to move at least the assets which were there into the premises to the individuals users places, so that we are able to meet the deadlines of the customers as per particular things to
Well,
be
that's
there.
actually interesting and fascinating because that's exactly what I'm going to bring to you, Avinash, with your permission. Is Sanjeev just spoke about the whole concept of how, within a matter of a few days, entire ecosystems had to be shifted and fairly
Correct.
redefined. Now, in all of that, now that you've got the last 20, give or take 20 odd months as learnings, how do you see the future role of your workstation, your endpoint, evolving to meet resilience as well as continuity in the future?
True. So this pandemic has been a great eye opener and real lessons for us. So digital transformation was in place earlier, but with the pandemic coming in, it has got accelerated from a 7 years life cycle to a year's life cycle. So all enterprises had to move on. Remote working was very limited, like to IT companies. Maybe we had 40% remote working, and other companies simply looked down upon it. But now it is the new norm, and you have to work with it. So things have changed. So work from home has been a part of this thing. People have learned to get kind of a remote conferencing UI aspects and insight. So they have put in VPNs and all the stuff. So going ahead, also organizations have looked at maybe a hybrid model where 30% of workforce will still be working remotely, and we'll also have kind of even uh, BFSI industries are which have been most stringent are also looking at remote frameworks. DOT has brought in a lot of relaxation in terms of remote working. So what is critical today is the digital dexterity of the workforce, which can cope any current and future disruption. So in that aspect, you need to really have, okay, doing a VPN is not really a digital workplace. Anywhere, any place working, it doesn't mean I put in a VPN, I had some sort of collaboration put in. That is okay when you had to initially start, when you have to restart, recover, realign. But now we have to come to renovate, where we have to provide the end users a robust platform, which is a federated, secure, and is device and location agnostic environment, which provides the workers all the access to data, technology, and collaboration tools, and they can work. So that's where a digital workplace comes into picture. And for any digital transformation, I think the endpoint or the end user portion is most critical. So that you need to have a very familiar and easy to use environment, which the user can be easily mobile with. He will have to come to office, work in the same time, he can go to work, or you can go to client side. All the places you should have access and it should be uniform. So looking at today, it's very essential to have a digital workplace, which is of critical importance.
Fantastic, because that is exactly what my notion was. Because Sanjeev, I want to bring that to you. There was a time when enterprise expectations was a couple of terms that we had all heard of. Now with the hybrid workspaces, it's also employee experience and employee expectations that is also central. Now, to add on to that, organizations have increasingly started revisiting the skill sets that their employees have and seeking superior accountability, collaboration, and innovation from their existing workforce. In that kind of a role and in that kind of a situation, how do you think modernizing the workstation, the endpoint, will radically help organizations achieve superior business outcomes, drive more collaboration, bring in more innovation, and therefore become more hyper competitive?
See, the basic thing is that since the UX has really become a very important factor into the whole scenario now, the things have, I think, so in the 2 years, the technology has really taken a leap, I would say, as Avinash was talking about, within 7 years, things roadmap has really come down to 2 years or 3 years sort of thing. I would say that it has really come down to 6 months or so in the manufacturing organization, if really talk about, because digital initiatives has been really ramped up in a big way, which were sitting onto a back seat in the prior time. So users now are expecting everything to be delivered on their workstation. They don't have to move out of these things. They're looking for the complete collaboration tools to be in place. They are looking for the best of the technology being given to them, so they are able to do much faster. The things, productivity should be high.
And in fact, within the manufacturing segment, and specifically in your individual sector, which is manufacturing, the automotive accessories, the whole concept of CAD CAM is central to your
Yeah.
existence, isn't it? And with the kind of automotive designs that are being predicted for the future, I'm presuming you need workstations that are years ahead of themselves.
That's right. So that is what we have started looking into it, that Arun, that we were previously having the workstations being taken as a individual station for the units to be purchased out. We have started looking into the strategy, and we are rather adopting the strategy that we will no more going for this workstations. We'll be going for the mobile workstations now. We will be also looking into the VDI solutions. We are talking about the GPU concepts to be put into place. We are even thinking that let's move our complete in-house R&D data to a cloud native place where we are able to get more security, resiliency, data security, plus your we are able to put in business continuity plan along with that. Because today, every individual IPR, individual knowledge was lying into the individual's desktop. And if by any means, I think so, this pandemic taught us a lesson that in case this is a pandemic today, if suppose something goes wrong with the site, there is a earthquake or there is a fire into the organization itself, the individual backup of a machine taking backups is sometimes a very critical asset, which sometimes even if the person has not pushed into the data which is there with him, and he is keeping 7 versions of that particular thing, the person leaves the organization. Those were becoming a big challenge for us. I think so. This particular 2 years have really taught us particular things, and we have ventured out, discussed with a lot of guys in the space to see how exactly these things can be automated and moved out of it so that we are able to take the real benefit out of it. The other point which we have really got benefit out of is that we got the taste of it, that things can be done in a much better way sitting at home also.
True.
Anyway, today if somebody has met with an accident, we were forced that okay, he will not come to office, and we have to really look for a freelancer or somebody else to really take up the job. But today, sitting at the home, the person, if even if he's got a broken leg, is lying on his bed, but he is able to do the job because he's not able to move, but he is eventually able to do all the activities. So those particular benefits really come into picture with this particular things. The thought process that have changed, and we have started modernization the workstations with them when we talk about, and we are looking into how flexible things can be done. And going forward, I think so with the 5G coming into place, I think so the whole scenario will change.
Will
We
change.
might not even thinking of having a workstation or a workspace place with us. We will be 100% might be shifting to the GPU based data centers where everything will reside onto the data center itself, and then we'll give a normal workstation to the person with the complete graphic facilities where only the pixels will move to the person, and then we are able to achieve that particular point. I think so that we are keeping our fingers crossed for the 5G rollouts to be there, and that to be rolled out not only into the metros, it has to be rolled out
Yes,
into
it's got to be pan
pan India sort
country.
of thing, so that then the real benefit of that particular thing will come out.
Indeed, because Avinash, same question to you. And increasingly, even in your sector, with so much of cross-border data flowing in, and with the levels of productivity in your particular sector and collaboration that is required to bring out, well, superior business outcomes, how do you see modernization of the workstation being critical to future-proof businesses?
Sure. So, really looking at what has changed is today our workforce is across wherever geographically agnostic. So you can be anywhere. And that has brought in a lot of challenges in enterprises like remote onboarding is a new concept. Like you don't even get the person to office, he's remotely onboarded. So how do you provision him? How do you support him? So in the modernization, if you're looking at a digital workplace, it's very essential that the solution is in place where you can onboard new devices with quick upgrades, execute over there configurations, and do the policy or patching, whatever. So what essentially I would say is kind of a zero approach, wherein you say have five parameters. First is the zero trust, because security is utmost important as your remote user is anywhere. To give an anecdote, I know a colleague whose son, his wife, and other son, they're working in different. One is in McKinsey, one is in Accenture, one is in
Oh,
Capgemini,
interesting.
and they are working from the same house with the same laptop. So you can imagine the kind of challenges these companies are going to
Oh,
have. So it's very essential that you need to have the authentication in place. So you need to have a zero trust where you have your PKI authentications and stuff, and device authentication, which are like ensure that you can log in only with authentication.
so, but in the same
Secondly,
breath, Avinash, with your permission, I'd just like to insert another question, which is that as IT leaders who are enabling business to move to a rate of acceleration that is fairly unprecedented, have you revisited and therefore are you reimagining the role that workstations will play in you being able to future-proof business?
yes,
Is
that's
that a
what we
reality?
exactly. Yeah, that's what exactly we're doing, because that's the reason we anyway have a kind of we are ahead of the curve. We already had an anyway workplace, but those challenges which I'm talking about are the ones once you have a digital workplace, how are you going to maintain support? Those are the challenges which we have. So first is the security part which I was mentioning. Second is zero touch. That means how do you update? Because patches have to be done, your upgrades have to be done, your support knowledge has to be transferred, so it has to be happen remotely. So they have to really have tools and systems in place so that you have over there updates doing. Zero storage, you have so much of data sprawl, as earlier Sanjeev also was saying, it's in a desktop, it's somewhere else. So your data sprawl has to be brought in, so it needs to be more into a cloud kind of a control environment, and so need to have a zero storage. That means you don't have a storage as less as possible at endpoint, and have a centralized storage which will support across. Going ahead, zero passwords. I mean, if I ask users to have passwords, so you need to have environment where maybe a biometric or a cloud identity or a SSO is utilized, so that this is more secure and authenticate, easy to use for the users. And zero contact, that means all this is happening, but of course the user needs real-time support. You can't expect, earlier it was okay, it was a perimeterized office, oh जरा help desk को बुला लो पकड़ के लेके आओ काम हो जाता है. But now he is working from a home, there are so many failure points, his internet or switch or something is not working. So what is the kind of your help desk and remote support, what kind of skill set, what kind of knowledge base you have put in, and how are you enabling this? Those are becoming very critical in modernization of your endpoints. And most slowly we are moving towards a cloud PC, where then you have the entire environment in the cloud, which now today is available in Azure or Microsoft or whatever AWS, which provides a complete environment which is safe, storage and everything is there. He just needs a device which is just logging in his authentication and then he can use. So that's what is happening in terms of modernizing the endpoints today.
Very interesting because Sanjeev, I'm going to ask you pretty much the same question, but also I'm going to insert this whole concept of, oh, now over the last 20 odd months, Have you had time to go back and revisit and equally reimagine the role the workstation, humble workstation plays in being able to deliver employee experience? The ability for an employee today to achieve far more with the existing, which is do more with whatever is available. And last but not the least, therefore, future proof your outcomes for the organization. How are you seeing that landscape evolving?
Yeah. So one thing I just, as I spoke earlier also, that what we were doing previously, we were having in the desktop-based workstations with us. We have moved away from the desktop-based workstation. Wherever there is a refresh, we are talking about only mobile workstations to be there in place. We are talking about the GPU places to be removed less over there onto the workstations and take it to the central places so that we are able to utilize that particular thing for all the purposes. So that we are able to cut down to the cost of the workstations also and see how exactly, because the thing is today is that today you're not going to rely 100% on a single employee sort of thing today. This particular benefit which you are going to get from this pandemic is that you can do globalization of your workforce also. You are able to look forward for the freelancers available in the market to really get up to your needs sometimes, because today somebody is not there, or the skill set is not available with your particular person. You are able to immediately take it from the freelancer who is available in the market and get your work done. So we are looking into the VDI implementations majorly for our AutoCAD sort of things, and because licensing was a big issue when we talked about having, because the license used to reside on a particular workstation only, and then moving the license from one workstation to the other workstation was a challenge. So I think so when the things will move into a cloud-based implementation of these designing softwares and everything, I think these particular issues will be resolved. Training aspects, I think so, is going to be a big benefit to the people when we are talking about the workstations to be there, because otherwise the person was stuck up into your organization because he can do only work for 8 hours, because nobody wants to sit, because if your office is in a remote location, the person
Correct.
wants to work only for 8 hours and then move out. But once you are giving him a mobile workstation, he is able to take that laptop with him, and then he is able to put in 14 hours also when he really wants to put and get the things done. So that particular experience is changing, and people are really uh, able to do much more than what they used to do previously sitting at the office. When they are sitting at home, they are able to uh, take out their leisure time also into it. You have to only do is that you have to see that you have the right tools to monitor whether the output which you expect from your employee is coming to you or not. You have to put in the tools to monitor the person what exactly is doing. You have to really put in security, as Avinash talked about. That is becoming a challenge. And when once we start putting everything onto a VDA platform sort of things, I think so those particular things are also being addressed, because you're not able to download anything onto your workstation. You're talking of sitting onto a normal place and doing that particular part. All those security issues will be addressed about that. So experience of the employee with the device is going to be a real, uh, I think so, shift into the whole gamut. If we talk about, we might not be 100% dependent onto a workstation sort of thing. I might use a normal laptop itself to
Indeed,
deliver
indeed.
the same thing what I am looking forward from the thing, because we have to move the capability of a workstation to cloud and then use my normal PCs or laptops, whatever I have with me. Or the I think so the going technology will be merging your all devices into a single device. When I don't need to have a mobile phone sitting with me to really take my call. I might have everything sitting onto it. Today we don't have connectivity. We put dongles or something else to be there on your laptops or things. I think new devices might come, like a chip will be already embedded into your laptop and you don't have to bother it. You are sitting in a plane. Today you are able to use it from their laptop itself directly from the plane, or you are sitting in a hotel or wherever. So any place, anywhere, anytime, I think so will be a thing which is going to be a future thing.
Very, very interesting. Actually, that's fascinating because Avinash, I bring you the same question, and in a slightly accelerated manner. We've read in the newspaper, we've heard conversations about the soldier of the future. One that is armed in such a manner that everything is embedded. And the whole concept of the employee of the future, helping organizations become the enterprises of the future, also requires the convergence of man and machine, or person and machine, beg your pardon. especially with mobile workstations or endpoints. How in your, and considering both of you gentlemen have gone through that journey over very many years and you have a wide spectrum of experience and learnings, how would you advise, guide, prescribe to this wonderful audience that's tuning in today to even approach the concept of which workstation or which endpoint for the right kind of skills and the kind of outcomes that you would like to bring out?
Sure. So very interesting question, and to answer it, today we are all digital warriors. My employees are my digital warriors. So
Indeed.
if I have to do digital transformation, they are my warriors. Earlier, just digital workers, but I would like to change because they are warriors. They have to really fight out on multiple fronts. So, so when we are provisioning for them this digital workplace, which has to be flexible, has to be more productive. I mean, of course, the future soldier is like all digitized, but unfortunately across our various side of enterprises we have different challenges. So to really boil down, you need to have basically a uniform workspace provision to them so that it is uniform across devices. They uniform across locations so they can they have the same look and the feel. You need to have profiling of your users. I mean, a sales guy having a workspace or digital profile, you may need to have an excellent, sleek laptop in front of customer and all those gizmos. Whereas at a backend worker, you don't need all that stuff. But the workspace requirements are different. So you need to do a profiling of a user to really see what is my digital workspace provisioning, what profiles to add. You need to have visibility and control on those outcomes. So if you have provided this kind of environment, whether it's sufficient or not, how is it working, what are the challenges, which devices are being used and what challenges are coming, so that you note this and progressively, proactively put in those solutions. So don't wait for problems to happen. And that is becoming critical today because users are using any device, any workplace. So you need to have a proactive approach. So kind of AI ops is very important in the background where it collects all this data. Humanly, it's very difficult to pick up. So these kind of tools you need to look at and deploy. And you're also looking at not only what is in it for the users, you are making so many investments, what is in it for the enterprise too. So in that context, you need to look at what is kind of the observability of the staff, what is the utilization happening. Those kind of inputs are also being collected from the tool. So that based on that, you can do the proactive provisioning, whether sometimes based on the time or a season, you may need to know more power since it's happening on the cloud at the back and its front end is just a digital extension. All those things can be looked into and observed. So that provides a tremendous value. What data today in digitalization, data is most critical. So your endpoints are also critical. What they are using, how are they collaborating, what are the issues they are facing, what is the traceability of incidents across this, are pretty important aspects of data when you are having this digital
True.
extended
True.
workplaces. And that's what organizations need to look into so that they can proactively provision and deprovision, not only provisioning, even deprovisioning. You don't need a high-end system provision 24/7. Now you can leverage your cloud solutions where you can, based on time also can provision, deprovision, and save on to costs. So those are things which are happening new as such. Most important part is coaching accessibility and well-being of users. Like
Very
what are
true.
the well-being tools are you put in kind of workplace hours? How is he facilitated to now expense claims? How is he facilitated to do all that stuff? Has to be easy, not a challenge. Because initially it's been a challenge. If you don't take care of this soft issues, your
I
digital workplace becomes a huge challenge. Because
No, no,
at
I
first,
completely agree with you. But I do have a
uh,
view on the clock, gentlemen. Uh, Sanjeev ji, same question to you. What is your guidance to the IT leaders of tomorrow on how they should look at the whole concept of employee experience, endpoint modernization, converging together to build the enterprises of the future?
So what I would say that I think so going forward, I think so as I repeated that point that we should start moving to the mobile stations only. Also, we should start looking into self-healing softwares which has to be put onto the devices. I think
Indeed.
some machines have already coming up with the self-healing operating systems or self-healing BIOS sort of thing that in case the BIOS feels like something has really happened, which is critical and some malware attack sort of thing, is that immediately it takes us back to the old copy of it and is able to protect you that particular part. You
Absolutely.
need to put in a lot of AI and ML into these machines so that they understand the user behavior and then they guide you on that particular part of this particular thing you need to do. Today, if he has added something onto a particular place, tomorrow morning, the moment he opens the laptop, the thing is open in front of him so that the person doesn't skip that particular thing and he should able to do that. So going forward, I think so these new technologies will be there. People have to keep an watch onto the market, how exactly the market is changing, and we should adopt. We should not lock in. I think so. There will be a time there will the OPEX model of these laptops, etc., will come up where you don't have to lock in to purchase a
Indeed.
capex. And I think so. Going forward, there things might come up. I think so. We are looking forward for the.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true, gentlemen. But I do have the clock, gentlemen. That's pretty much what we have time for. Though, given your both of your eminence, I must ask you this, Sanjeev ji. You also mentioned, and so did you, Avinash. You mentioned about how employees today are able to work more, do so much more. You know, the dichotomy to this is the UAE has is the first country which is formally adopted a 4.5 day week. This announcement came back last year. Now, in this whole concept of resurgence, building the nation, do you see? And obviously, all of us working far, far more and putting in more hours than we perhaps did when we were in offices. Do you see India being able to adopt like 4.5 day week?
Let me take it,
I don't.
Arjun, before Avinash takes it, because it's about industry to industry. Basically, thing is that you can't really say when the India is a manufacturing hub for the things.
True.
Working on a 4.5 days sort of thing would really not work in this particular scenario because people are talking about their furnaces, which works 24 cross 7, 365 days a day. You really can't say keep your assets idle for so many days.
Two and
Yeah,
a half.
man, if we really talk about workforce, where we talk about IT industries, or think people might work for 14 hours and after that they can take 2 days off on that particular frame from things can really work out. But in the manufacturing scenario, it doesn't seem to be in a pipeline in an immediate sort of things. Yes, for the white collars, it might happen from instead of 6 days where manufacturing has still have 6 days sometime. You can move to 5 days concept of things that things might change up, but I really don't see 4 days or 4.5 days sort of thing because
Interesting.
those
That's a
guys
very
are working into
interesting
refineries.
facet. Avinash, your quick take on that?
Yeah. So the lioness tested the blood. So with all this remote working, I don't think anybody is really going to come back to office and work. I mean, full time. Of course, it's going to be priority. So this time-based measurement or attendance of a workforce is a thing of a past.
Indeed, sir.
Because with this new way of working, people are more oriented to business outcome related and productivity related measures. So
So
it,
true.
it doesn't matter whether I'm in morning 6 to 9. I need to do my activity which is delivered and things move. So your output is linked to your business outcome and that
Indeed.
has to move. So wherever there is a asynchronicity, governance will come in, will step in and will fix it. Whether it's a process issue, it's a skill issue, or it's something else, attitude issue. So so so
Absolutely
so
beautifully put.
so that's what is going to happen.
No, fascinating, gentlemen, and so supremely articulated. But much as I'd like to continue this conversation, that's pretty much what we have time in this segment for. Avinash, Sanjeev, it has been a privilege having shared the stage with you, heard your perspectives and views. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Sanjay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for the audience, that was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, in conversation with Avinash Vilhal and Sanjeev Kumar Jain. Stay tuned with us, and we'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev, Avinash, and Arjun, for that insightful and engaging conversation. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward to our next segment, which is the Tech Dialogues. Let's welcome Mr. Suhas Pingal, Brand Manager, Precision Workstations for Dell Technologies. And with him, we have Mr. Sajid Kumar, Director, M&A Alliances for Microsoft. They are in a conversation with Mr. Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer for Strategy. Over to you, Arjun, once again.
Hello and welcome back. We are on the Digital Dialogues 2.0 and post the first segment where we were in conversation with industry CIOs talking about the challenges and the opportunities. that workstation and endpoint modernization can help in transforming industries to achieve more, to help organizations deliver and create superior business outcomes. I am now going to be in conversation with subject matter experts from within industry. Please put your hands together to continue this conversation and in no specific order, Saji Kumar, Director, M&A Alliances, Microsoft. Saji, welcome. Delighted.
Thank you, Arjun. Really excited to be part of this panel. And hello to my colleague and friend Suhas too.
Thank you. And Suhas Pingat, Consultant Precision Workstations, Dell Technologies. Suhas, welcome. Delighted you could join us.
Thanks a lot, Arjun, for calling me back. It's been a while since we've
It has been
been
a
on the
while
panel.
indeed.
And hi, Saji. Actually, very good to see you. It's been a while, so pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, just a short while back, I was in conversation with two very eminent CIOs, which was Sanjeev Kumar Jain from Krishna Maruti Group, which is manufacturing, and Avinash Velhal from the Atos Group. Very diverse sectors, but both fairly articulate and impactfully mentioned the whole case for endpoint modernization as perhaps one of the critical pillars to business modernization, if I may be allowed to put it that way, which is why, Suhas, with your permission, if I could come to you, this whole concept of the hybrid workspace, a workspace that is not defined by geographical boundaries, and the ushering in of a new future of work. How do you see the endpoint being central to perhaps helping foster collaboration, innovation, and therefore hyper competitiveness?
Yes, Arjun, I think to set the context also, I mean, if we were to put it that way, just about 2 years back, we were actually working from our offices, right? There's nothing known as, yes, there were organizations that still had remote workforce, but not as much as we have today. And as we're now moving from remote or work from home, we are getting the situation which is now going to be, as you rightly said, hybrid, right? And hybrid uh, will definitely come with a lot of challenges, actually speaking, because you're going to have multiple organizations all across the country, and hence they are collaborating as well with their respective organizations across the globe. It becomes very important to manage and secure the actual endpoint device. Okay, this is very critical now because you're going to have a mix and match of people working in an office, some of them working maybe permanently from home, some of them working in a hybrid mode, 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week at home. Hence, it's going to create a lot of what I would say is a kind of a challenging position for the employee. See, when you are fixed, you say, okay, fine, 9 to 5, whatever it is, I'm going to work from home. I don't have a challenge there. Now you're going to be working from office and then home. So I think that is a challenge for which is basically an employee challenge. And with that, what happens is you're going to have other correlated issues. The biggest problem is going to be how right is the endpoint device.
Indeed.
Are you still going to be on mobile? Are you going to make some of them to go back to the fixed kind of a workforce? And that's why the persona here, the persona definition becomes very critical. Because as we've been always been saying that no single size fits all. So I think that is something which is already happening in the industry across all verticals, be it manufacturing, be it IT, ITS, be it BFSI. Organizations and CIOs have realized that it is important to kind of categorize. There is no one size that fits all. It's going to be different. So that change has already happened. I think the hybrid mode is going to be slightly more complex because you're going to seriously see not only the device, but the entire ecosystem that goes along with it, the ease of use, the security aspect, and of course, with newer version of the operating system that is coming, how good and effective and productive the employee is going to be.
That's actually fascinating. And with your permission, if I could bring that to you, Saji. Suhas very brightly spoke about the definition of personas, the ease of use. Now, all of this, when you kind of boil that together, gives rise to a new term which has gained traction today within business organizations, which is the whole concept of employee experience. And increasingly, a vast majority of IT as well as business leaders believe and are confident that the convergence of human and machine, which is the endpoint of the workstation, is the starting point of delivering superior employee experience if you want to deliver superior business outcomes. How do you, from Microsoft, bring that narrative into reality?
Absolutely. So, to take a cue from what Suhas also mentioned, right? Earlier, we used to bring employees to organizations. Today, we are bringing organizations to employees, right? Yeah. So, the new era of digital workplaces offers much more promising potential, whether it is to the employee or to the employer. But like you said, to transform this into reality, the experience has to be seamless. The experience has to be the best. The digital workplaces must be embedded in a culture of very close interaction and cooperation. That is very, very key, right? And at the same time, this will allow us to combine gains in productivity with creativity and some kind of an innovation, right? So, once we evolve, once the workplaces evolve into the new modern, the so-called digital workspaces, it has to be designed for flexibility, it has to be designed for collaboration, it has to be designed for automation, and that can help an increasingly one productive at the same time, the remote agile workforce can get connected to your organization, right? This really helps the organization from a point of simply looking at from an investment standpoint, right? And you don't need to invest heavily in the workplace. You can invest in your core business areas, right? Because this digital workplace is today helping you reach diverse demographies, hiring the best talents from across the globe. We are not limited to the boundaries. You can go anywhere around the world and get the best talents into your organization, right?
Indeed.
So this is the unprecedented transformation just happened in the workplace. Today, when you work remotely, like Suhas mentioned, if the experience is very, very key. So you need to have the right endpoint devices so that the organizations can bring the workplace to the employees rather than employees to the workplace. That's how we see the whole transformation happening.
That's actually interesting because I think there's a majority that tends to agree with it and is putting it into practice because Suhas is exactly what I'm going to bring to you. There was a time when the words such as collaboration, innovation, uh, productivity had a fair bit of meaning, but they've truly been brought to life over the last 20 odd months. How do you see from Dell Technologies' perspective? What is your narrative on how you make it real for organizations to modernize the endpoints so that their efficiencies on productivity, on rate of innovation, and on true collaboration actually starts bearing fruit?
Yes, Arjun, I think it all boils down, of course, to the experience that the end user has, right? And to that extent, it's the endpoint which is very, very important here. But there's one thing which is also very critical to understand is, as Saji mentioned, getting organizations to the employees is something which is very critical and relative. But what I would like to point out here is the endpoint experience is no more completely a spec related or a performance related matter anymore. I mean, yes, it is important because if you're going to give it to give an equipment to, let's say, a 3D designer or an artist, of course, it's going to be different than anybody who's normally working on some other business domains, right? So that is something which is very important. And I think when you look at that experience to be added up, uh, the hardware aspect is not really very that important. What we need to also understand is how is the ecosystem going to be delivered. For example, uh, how is it that my system is going to be optimized to use any of the software that I'm going to use, right?
So true.
We talk about AI, we talk about MLGL as basically data scientists, but for a standard user, are these technologies integrated into the hardware that they get to make their software optimized in a proper way, if I were to put it that way? The other aspect is, of course, from a point of having certain ecosystems which are absolutely greatly developed. For example, it could be the in front of the screen experience, maybe the camera or the audio for that matter. How intelligent is the audio? How soon can I switch on the system and get started working? For example, if I'm a new employee, I just open up a notebook, I switch it on, I need to get the entire apps that I want, right? So
Absolutely.
that's the experience which the user wants rather than, okay, getting the notebook, then expecting a call from the service delivery, then downloading the tools and all that. This has to be completely automated and it has happened. So within there, we have certain technologies that can enable this. So all these things put together will create that fantastic endpoint user experience that organizations will really look to. And as Saji mentioned, geographies are not going to be limited, right? So, which means with that, yes, flexibility comes, but also comes the complexity of managing the entire systems, right? So, it's a good one that we are there. Practically, most of the organizations are actually implementing a lot of things that we're talking about. But from an endpoint, I think things are going to get much more interesting with the overall ecosystem experience rather than only performance of the system.
No, that's actually true because something that came to my mind, and Saji, I must ask you for your perspective on this from the point of view of Microsoft and obviously your wide spectrum that you have to industry and customers in general is what and how would you recommend, and for this wonderful audience that's tuning into us today, who are perhaps approaching the journey, commencing the journey, or midway through the journey, for all we know, perhaps, is what is your prescriptive guidance on how organizations should look at integrating endpoint or workstation modernization into the very fabric of business modernization? Because across sectors, everybody's changing.
Yeah. So see, endpoint modernization, right? We talk a lot about it today. It basically gives you a very, very powerful tool to tackle the endpoint related productivity issues. At the same time, it maximizes your effectiveness of IT and lower the overall cost, right? And what does it give you? In simple terms, it helps you do more with less. That's what we say. Do more with less. I will talk about the example of Microsoft 365, right, which is one of the most widely accepted productivity suites which is available in the market today. See, many customers, many organizations have told us, right? This is the word of mouth references which I'm talking about. Maximizing their investment in Microsoft 365 during this remote work has become very, very critical. At the same time, highly productive for many organizations. We have seen a rapid adoption during this, last 18, 20 months of pandemic also, because more and more people need to collaborate. They need to communicate in different ways. Earlier it was not possible, but today it is possible. At the same time, when a job is handed over to an employee, you also need to ensure that he has been given a very robust infrastructure and platform to collaborate with the various departments, the various people, without losing his productivity. At the same time, the flexibility is also available. That's why, the products like Microsoft 365 plays a very, very key role, because the user experience becomes very, very critical. And while today the endpoint devices, the form factors could be different, because the employees can choose to work from any of the form factor which he want to work on, right? It need not be on a desktop alone or a PC alone, right? It can be various form factors available. So simple things like Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, it really helps the IT manage its entire clients, entire servers. At the same time, it keeps the software updated from time to time, setting up configurations and, ensuring that the security policies are not violated. It keeps monitoring the system status on a regular basis, because all these are very, very important when you are giving a remote access to an employee, right? Because data is critical, all these things are very, very valuable, without compromising on anything. I think that is how all these new features, the new products which are jointly, offered in the market by Dell and Microsoft comes to the play. That's how the entire employee experience becomes very, very smooth and, fabulous.
No, very true, because you spoke about rapid adoption, and so Has, I must bring that to you. You do this on a day-to-day basis. You're doing this daily with your elbows deep in technology. And how do you bring to bear Dell Technologies' narrative on the challenges, yet the opportunities that exist across sectors? So, be it manufacturing, be it banking, financial services, energy. How do you take a consultative approach in helping organizations even approach and undertake this journey? Because this journey is one that's certainly full of opportunities and fascinating, but it's also complex. So, what is the route and journey that you would advise organizations to take?
See, it's a very good question, I think, because I mentioned it earlier. One size doesn't fit all, and so forth. But you actually got it right when you look at industry verticals, and industry verticals having their own challenges is something else, right? So manufacturing has their own set of challenge. How would you probably make the workforce work remotely? That's what's not technically possible. Uh, for a media and entertainment industry, the absolute importance is the IP, the content, right? Many
True.
in the media entertainment industry have still not uh, moved towards the mobile form factor, if I meant to use it. So there, the challenges are completely different. The BFSI challenge is, of course, a huge amount of data that comes in, right? So there are these different challenges, and purely see, I'm not going to get into the enterprise level of discussion because it's completely vast and huge. But limiting myself to the endpoint discussion, every organization has to realize that unless and until you create personas, see, we create personas within Dell, and that's how we go ahead and have a consultative approach with the customer, right? You could be a knowledge worker, you could be a corridor worker, you could be a remote worker, you could be working from home. You are obviously working on something which is technology advanced, highly productive in nature, and so on and so forth, right? So that's where things change. And it's not only that. If I have to get into manufacturing, there are so many other applications that are. For an organization, it could be virtual reality. How do you
Indeed.
adopt virtual reality? And it's not limited to manufacturing; it's across all sectors. So that's definitely a challenge, and organizations today have realized this most important aspect is that we need to give powerful equipment to the right people. Unless you do that, you're not going to have your product designed. You're not going to have a quick release to the market. It could be anything for that matter. So I think that's the best way we do. We ensure that we recognize the vertical in which the industry responds, and that's then we take a consultative approach, right? We get into deeper discussions as to what are the workflows, what are they going to really use, and how can Dell Technologies can make it easier and much simpler for them to go ahead and start working. It could be optimized performance. It could be mission critical reliability.
Yeah.
See, mission critical reliability does not happen only in enterprise. Right? If you have an end user who's working on something which is very critical to the organization, that itself means that the equipment that they're using needs to be mission critical, right?
Indeed.
It should be running all the time. They wouldn't like to see errors that might pop up, right? So hence we check all this and then give a standard. I wouldn't say a standard, a much tailored uh, kind of a consultative approach
A
to the
bespoke
customers.
approach.
Yeah, because you suddenly find that your email of a sales guy is that okay, the customer says I want this configuration, right? So that's not what that I'm alluding to, but move away from configurations. That's the last stage. Customers need to understand how important it is to use the right equipment so that it is much efficient and gives the right of performance to any set of users.
Fantastic. But gentlemen, this is increasingly turning delightful and fascinating, but I do have a view on the clock. I know you've got schedules ahead. In conclusion, Saji, if I may bring to you one very important aspect of the whole concept of workstation or endpoint modernization, experience modernization, which is today as much as sensors and various other peripherals are creating vast amounts of data. The endpoint continues to be the number one in creating data. And therefore, in a hybrid kind of a workspace of sorts, security takes on an altogether different meaning. How at Microsoft do you bring about a convergence of the whole concepts of endpoint modernization, yet in a reliable and secure manner?
I think, yeah, Arjun, I also touched upon this, importance of security in this whole hybrid work environment or the remote work environment, right? See, today, if you look at be it a small, a medium-sized, or a large organization, when you talk about a digital transformation journey, what are you doing? You are using technology to fundamentally improve an organization's business processes, culture, and also the customer experience, right? Today it has become a prominent discussion topic in boardrooms. It is no
It's
more
part
a
of the
discussion which
agenda.
agenda. It is no more part of just the IT, the CIO or the IT head of an organization. Because today, while it is regarded as an inherently technical challenge considered by many organizations, the directors, the senior executives, the CXOs, everybody has critical role to play in leading the effort. So it is not just about investing in the right infrastructure or investing in the right endpoint devices, but the entire culture. You need to bring in various measures to ensure that security is in place, right? See, this means that when you support the digital workplace, you need to have appropriate governance structures, You need to have a proper management process. You need to have the information flow going right, and everything has to comply with the organization's policy and industry regulations, right? So that none of them are able to deviate from what it has to be, right? There are do's and don'ts when you work from an office.
And
Doesn't mean that, yeah, when you are working from somewhere else, doesn't mean that it can be deviated, right? So security, uh, or like we all say, data is the fuel, that is the mind, right? So security has become a very, very important aspect of the whole thing, and Microsoft puts in so much of investment to ensure that all of our products, which are customer centric products, security becomes one of the key parameters in terms of the offering which we do, because you need to coordinate your technology groups and investments to avoid traps of some siloed implementations, or lack of ownership and stuff like that. So you should adopt clear roadmaps. You should know where you're going from 3 to 5 years time, whether the product you are invested, is there a scalability available, is there a security patch updation happening for that period of time, so that you ensure that your digital workplace not only gives productivity today but also delivers measurable business in maybe a couple of years down the line from now. So
no, I couldn't agree
it's a
more with
very,
you
very
on that.
important parameter.
No, we couldn't agree more. And in conclusion, if I could come to you, Suhas, Saji spoke about the DX journey, maybe 3 to 5 years of a window into the future. Now, Dell Technologies by itself, and of course, in partnership with Microsoft, has been one of the forerunners in bringing out cutting edge technology innovation. If you were to, well, 3 to 5 years is a fairly long time, at least that's what the last 20 months have taught us. But if you were to look at the next 9 to 12 to 18 months, how and how would you articulate your close interlinkage with industry to help organizations become truly future proof from the perspective of the workstation?
No, that's actually a tough one. If I'm being very upfront about it, Arjun, because innovation keeps happening on a regular basis, specifically on endpoints, right? And gone are the days when the endpoints were bulky. Gone are the days that everything that goes in it would be only office productivity and some of the applications, right? Today, the scope has tremendously increased and improved. And with this, what has happened is data, as we talked about, as Saji mentioned, the fuel and the mine and things like that is being churning, right? And
Yeah.
it's not only data within the endpoint, but the data that the organization collects from its customers through IoT stuff and things like that, right? So it's already very complex. Now, the innovation that we have to do from an endpoint perspective is, let's be very clear, okay? If you're going to use an endpoint for doing a lot of analysis work and figuring out what is the stress on the structure and stuff like that, or doing some kind of rendering for a media file, you're going to use a lot of resources, right? And these resources are going to be on a mobile form factor, for example. So, what are the thermal levels, for example? Everybody might think it is very minuscule, but please understand the kind of processor that you have, the kind of graphics that you have, and it's going to be churning at absolute peak power. You're going to have a system which is going to be hot, right? So, what exactly the thermals? That is something which we are looking towards, because ultimately it's the mobile form factor which is gaining more momentum.
One more.
Not that there is enough work happening, enough work is happening on the traditional uh, form factors as well. The second aspect is it's becoming more powerful,
Yeah.
right? And because it is becoming more powerful, how do you ensure that it runs optimally at all the time, right?
True.
Performance, if it comes with failure, doesn't make a sense. It has to be longevity in terms of performance. So to that aspect, we see a lot of innovation that is going to happen. We're going to see a lot of form factors coming in. We're going to see a lot of, as I said, ecosystem aspects to make the ease of use very, very good for the customer. And plus, the most important aspect is, how do you make products that are environmentally sustainable,
Environmentally friendly.
right?
No.
And that is something which is coming out a lot, and especially after COP26, every
Yeah.
country are announcing their zero carbon footprint and so on and so forth. So we have to do from a technology company to realize, because the maximum units that get sold are endpoint ones, right?
Yes, that is true.
And so what it is, recycled plastic. For example, we use carbon fiber, which is originally used in aeroplane,
Yeah.
right? So aviation industry. So that's how we now have started using recycled carbon fiber. So
Wonderful.
innovation is not in technology, but in overall
In the overall
culture.
ethos of
Yeah.
how business is run. But gentlemen, as always, this has been nothing short of delightful speaking to both of you. Well, that's pretty much what we have time in this segment for. Suhas, Saji, thank you. Fascinating as always, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Arjun.
Arjun, and thank you, Suhas. Great
Thanks,
talking to
Arjun.
you. So now it's a time for all of us to reimagine and get into the fast track. Yeah.
True.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, in conversation with Saji Kumar from Microsoft and Suhas Speaker from Dell Technologies. That's pretty much from us here. Stay tuned. We'll be back with the next segment in just a moment.
Wow, that was indeed fantastic. Thank you, Suhas. Thank you, Saji and Arjun, for that engaging conversation. I'm sure that all of us will truly appreciate those nuggets of wisdom. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap. I hope you found this episode of the Digital Dialogues informative and useful. Would request you to please take a few moments of your time and fill in the feedback form. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions. Your feedback is absolutely essential as it helps us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. Thank you once again, all of you, for joining us today. On behalf of Dell Technologies, Microsoft, Reddington, and Strategic, we look forward to welcoming you at our upcoming webinars and conferences. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and do enjoy the rest of your day ahead. Thank you.